You're watching a new edition of World Insight with me, James Chow. Thanks for joining us. And as always, as you know, we bring you a half hour of analysis and all the stories in the headlines and all of it from a Chinese perspective. So without wasting any more time, let's turn now to our first story. And here's how we start today. The political turmoil in Georgia is in our headlines. It lasted more than a month now. The country has caught the eye of the world in its brief war last year with Russia. But now trouble is brewing once again with its political deadlock between President Mikhail Saakashvili and also the opposition. That's not all. The ongoing NATO military exercise in Georgia has made it a flashpoint again between Russia and the West. The instability of Georgia is under scrutiny by the major powers, as we see now.
President Mikhail Saakashvili and the opposition go through the motions. But the first face-to-face meeting in a month ended in failure.
We will do more. We will block roads. We will go to the regions. We will urge people to take to streets and make Saakashvili run away from this country.
Opposition protesters have paralyzed central Tbilisi since April 9th, demanding the president resign. Violence has already flared. Last week, hundreds of people marched to police headquarters for the release of 3 protesters. They accused Saakashvili of launching the war with Russia and mismanagement of the economy. For Georgians, the memories of last year's war are still fresh. On August 7th, Saakashvili launched a sudden attack on the Birkway region of South Ossetia. It broke the tradition of the Olympic truce and started a war with Russia. The loss of territory and lack of support from the West afterwards put Saakashvili in an awkward position. It was a strong contrast from the time he was first elected by a landslide after leading the 2003 Rose Revolution. Back then, the U.S.-educated lawyer was widely seen as a reformer with strong Western support. That has all changed.
Why do we need this Saakashvili? At the beginning, when he was elected, they said he would serve us as well as Stalin. But is he serving us well? No, he isn't. Therefore, we don't want him.
The discontent seems to have spread to the military. Last week, the Georgian government said it had foiled a military rebellion on the eve of NATO military exercises. The several hundred soldiers at the base handed over their weapons and surrendered. Saakashvili accused Russia of involvement.
I want to warn the Russian Federation against any attempt to escalate the tension inside the territory of Georgia and its occupied zones.
I've heard about the claim of Russia's involvement, and I consider them a provocation in the information field and also in the sphere of geopolitics.
Georgia is the major conduit for the transit of Caspian gas and oil to Western markets. Its strategic importance for both NATO and Russia has never been ignored. Russia sees the former Soviet state as part of its rightful sphere of influence. But since Saakashvili came to power, his pro-Western stance and pursuit of NATO membership have severely strained ties with Russia.
Many Georgians faulted Saakashvili's leadership during the Georgian-Russian War, and the country's economic situation is also in a difficult period, partly because bad relations with Russia deepened the financial crisis. But Saakashvili came to power through a color revolution, so the West still supports him as a success of their democratic reform in the region.
In a time of political turmoil, NATO military exercises in Georgia are seen as a sign of support for Saakashvili. Starting from May 6th, more than 1,000 servicemen from 15 countries are taking part in the one-month exercises. Elsewhere in the neighborhood, Russia held its biggest Victory Day parade in modern history on May 9th. It It reminded the world of the country's past glory and its modern military strength.
Our victory over fascism is a great example and a great lesson to all nations. It is a lesson which is still valid today, when again and again those nations appear to be the ones indulging in military adventurism.
The Georgian-Russian war last year put a freeze on contacts between NATO and Moscow. The relationship had started to thaw recently, with NATO needing Moscow's assistance for the alliance's mission in Afghanistan. But the expulsion of 2 Russian diplomats from NATO over espionage allegations has put a halt to the contacts. And 9 months after the Georgian-Russian war, the NATO military exercises seem like another slap in the face to Russia.
This is an open provocation. It is unacceptable to hold military exercises there when there has been a war.
Russia sees the military exercises as Western meddling in its sphere of influence. For the West, the South Caucasus in general, Georgia in particular, holds vital access links to Central Asia and the northern frontiers of the Middle East. That's why the region has become a hotspot between the big powers.
The leading country of NATO, the U.S., got off to a tentative start in relations with Moscow by the Obama administration. The U.S. initiated the idea of resetting the relations, and the two have achieved progress in talks on arms control. But Russia believes the NATO military exercise in Georgia is a move in the other direction.
Before the Georgian tensions, Russia's relations with the West had improved at least in diplomatic tones. The U.S. extended an olive branch to Russia by setting positive terms, but even so, the U.S.-led NATO still had military exercises in Russia's backyard. The competition among big powers in pursuing their own interests always exists.
In an interview with Japanese media, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin said the U.S. leaders should take necessary steps to make sure Russian-U.S. ties really gain new substance. Beyond Georgia, Russia and the U.S.-led NATO have more on the table, such as the missions in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
I don't think we should qualify our relations as frozen or cold or icy. Russia-NATO relations, if you want our personal assessment and feeling, it's as if we were scientists studying the workings of a volcano. It proves it is a very unpredictable natural phenomenon, and we can expect an eruption at any time.
The relations between Russia and the West reflect the complex interests of big powers. On the world stage, they compete as well as cooperate. And the challenge is figuring out which mode takes precedence at any given moment.
Now, the term reset has been used on a number of occasions by the Obama administration with regards to Russia-US ties, but as usual, it's always much easier said than done. Now, this week, the US announced that President Barack Obama will pay an official visit to Moscow in July. Then he would have had a real chance to show his Russian counterpart what new substance he brings to that relationship.